Part of the curriculum of life is looking at the systems that you are a part of and being able to say, that system needs work. It's important to be able to shift your game so that you're not simply pushing the system away and saying, I don't think about that stuff because it's too complicated. Let someone else worry about it. Honestly, your inaction may be standing in the way of everybody's survival.
All of it fits just right, heart to heart. There's no tradition, nothing by the book. All you need is courage, have the strength to look.
Since we must act, we do the best we can to act consciously and compassionately. But in addition, we can make every action an exercise designed to help us become free.
I see a robe of patches, it is perfectly arranged. Here, there is no worry, letting go of shame. We sit in pure absence, without expectation.
Because the truth that comes from freedom, and the power that comes from freedom, and the love and compassion that come from freedom are the jewels. These are the jewels we can cultivate to offer to our fellow sentient beings for the relief of their suffering.
Everything will be alright. Common truth is something new. Hey, what's to lose? All we gotta do is try. Let us share. Don't be scared. Come on in.
Even though we find ourselves afraid and not feeling very peaceful and less than fully loving and compassionate, we must act. There's no way you can be in an incarnation without acting. We cannot wait until we are enlightened to act in the world. And we don't need to withdraw from the world to become enlightened. We all hear the way in which our silence is itself an act of acquiescence to a system, which allows the status quo to continue. I think it's very hard to understand when it seems like our participation is such a trivial act, how it's connected to the entire universe that way. But I feel it's important, not only for the relief of suffering, that you do what you can for other people, but it's also important for your own heart that you do something.
Can you step inside this doorway and tell me, love, how does the dreamer inside you show her face? They say my words are empty and out of touch, but I know you know the lesson.
Like I've mentioned before, I can disagree with the political leaders' actions. I can lobby for legislative changes. I can protest if I think what they support is wrong. I can disagree with actions that are not compassionate. But I want to keep my heart open. If I don't, I am part of the problem, not part of the solution.
There's no stopping the rising sun. What's done is done. Can you set your own self free? 'Cause I remember you.
That's what the inner work is, to become part of the solution. You don't have to act out of anger in order to oppose something, because that creates suffering. You can become an instrument of that which relieves suffering by opposing somebody with love. You can do social action out of love. We cannot really presume to know the final meaning of our actions. Nevertheless, we should work full time to end suffering, having no attachment to whether suffering ends. There came a point when I said, I'll just do what I can. I'll do what I can to relieve suffering. I'll do what I can to preserve the environment sustainably. I'll do what I can to bring about justice in the world. I think it's important that at some level we care with all our heart, and then we finally let go. We give it all we have and trust the rest to God, to nature, to the universe. You might ask, how can you know you're not making errors that are increasing suffering when you work to relieve suffering? The answer is, you don't. And all you can do is stay open with your heart and your mind, and be as impeccable as you know how to be, and be willing to admit you've blown it and made errors. None of us are so naive as to think that only that which gives pleasure is useful. I think most of you now have found through your own experiences that there is incredible growth through suffering. That doesn't mean we go around programming suffering into people's lives. We don't teach Suffering 101. And yes, when we look back at our own lives, we see that some of the most profound changes occurred at the times of the most intense suffering. Little did I know how valuable this wisdom would be for me in the next chapter of my life.